Yo guys, what's going on? I'm Keegan. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to hit that subscribe button and leave those opinions down there in the comment section. Globelamp, Romantic Cancer, Globelamp, solo alias of Elizabeth LaFay. You've heard this whole thing before. I've covered her twice on this channel already, those being her previous 2 studio albums, both thanks to some lovely viewer suggestions, and this one is no different. This is her most recent album as of recording this video, being released in late October of 2018. And with how she's been releasing her music, it's quite likely there may be a new Globelamp album sometime this year, if not the next. Does this album surpass her previous, or is it just a flop? Let's find out as I review it track by track. I'm not sure if this album had any singles, so we're just going to kick it off with the opener Shala Love, which immediately captured my attention due to LaFay ditching those English inflections in her voice that she had in her previous 2 albums. I don't really know who the male voice is singing backup with her, but besides that, it's got a very relaxing feeling to it due to it just being a simple acoustic guitar. Lyrically, it really seems to be about questioning someone's love. As an opener, it's fine, not too powerful, but it does light the path this album's going to explore. But as a song, I really love it. Everything's a Spiral is, yet again, another pure acoustic song. No percussion is here throughout the entire song at all. Just another acoustic guitar, and LaFay's extremely delicate voice just elegantly glides across this song. I really like the melody this time. It's strangely captivating and just feels like such a vibe. Lyrically, this one's a bit more cryptic, but what I can muster is that life is a spiral and it keeps on turning, giving us new surprises, some for the better, some for the worst. The length is a little bit too long for me, but it's such a tranquil song through and through. Not a bad one at all. Blinded almost starts out like this French, Italian, stereotypical serenade. You know the type where they're riding in a gondola or whatever. And then it just turns into a bit more of a slow, softer acoustic cut again. The melody is yet again fantastic, I dare say the best on this album, and when combined with a fluctuating tempo, it's certainly ethereal in a way. Lyrically, it's a bit more dark than it sounds, being about how the lights have blinded her and taken away the illusion of her and this person, and brought her back to reality. Honestly, this is a fantastic song. Check this one out, you won't be disappointed. The title track, Romantic Cancer, has yet another fantastically entrancing melody. LaFay's vocals have gotten a bit more intense this time, especially around the end of the track, which is quite a nice turnaround from the rest of this album so far. But yet again, it's still another acoustically driven track, which at this point of the album is starting to get a bit tired. Lyrically, it's about not wanting to return to this person, but still breathing them in slowly, which is only killing her faster. Honestly, at this point I was kind of hoping for a bit of spunk from this album that showed up a few times on her previous 2 albums. As a song, however, it's still nice, but the flaws of the overall flow and engagement of the album are really starting to set in at this point. Blacktar almost feels a bit more like an interlude with its length, being a staggeringly short 1 minute and 38 seconds. However, weirdly enough, it's really no different sonically from the rest of the tracks here, so it doesn't feel like anything special. Yet again, we have a fluctuating tempo and a nice melody, and LaFay's vocals almost have a bit of a spooky, storytelling tone to them. I'm sure it's meant to be a bit of an interlude, but it really just feels like an unfinished song idea. This one's not for me. Sorceress of Your Soul, in some aspects, is still similar to the previous track, yet at the same time drastically different. The main difference is the tone. While the rest of the songs just had a soft, sort of relaxing vibe to them, this track has this soaring grandiosity, as if I'm watching an overhead of a desolate and abandoned village from a fantasy land or something. LaFay's vocals also contribute a bit, with a soft yet frequent quiver in her voice, and the lyrics are all about magic and sorcery. Honestly, it's not quite the punch I asked for, but I'll certainly take this as a substitute. Fantastic song, probably my favorite here. St. Cecilia almost feels a bit more like a bluesy acoustic song with how heavy the guitar sounds a majority of the time. However, LaFay's vocals are back to that signature, spiritual, otherworldly effect that she's used plenty of times on her 2 previous albums. Lyrically, she talks about becoming the patron saint of memories. I guess just the entire spectrum of memories. This one's a bit cryptic as well. The song's also quite short, barely tracking 2.5 minutes. But it's also not that bad. Not the best, but also not the worst. Lowest Low, as the title may suggest, is a bit more of a somber song. Very heavy acoustic guitar, no hooks, just LaFay and her quivering vocals again, and her fantastic storytelling abilities. This time, about how she's fell to the lowest low, essentially rock bottom, and is now just alone in her house drinking tea, searching for a soulmate since she could breathe. It's certainly heavier and darker than a majority of the songs here, but I'm honestly a fan of that style. Pretty good song. Charmed, unfortunately, is that point of the album where I think this style starts to get a bit sleepy. Again, however, not a bad song in its own right, but the overall flow of the album is getting a bit tired at this point. Anyway, as we expect, it's a very calm, warm acoustic guitar, bordering on folk almost, and LaFay's vocals are very soft and luscious again. Lyrically, it's simply about longing and waiting for this real type of love, I assume. A little bit too sleepy of a song in my opinion, but again, it's not the worst. Unnatural Speeds, while still an acoustic song, feels a little bit more lively. I think it all has to do with the guitar, which is in a bit more of an upbeat chord progression than the previous tracks. The Faye's vocals, while still in a serenade, are at that same tone as the guitar, also having a nice melody, and contribute to that more poppy and positive feeling of the song. Lyrically, it's about being in this unhealthy desire for a person, chasing after them a little bit too fast. This track's also pretty good. Birds Down My Back is so slowed down it almost sounds like something straight out of a Western movie, like just sitting on a wooden chair outside of a saloon or something. The guitar is, as previously mentioned, a bit slower and heavier, and LaFaye still has that quiver in her voice, much like the previous couple of songs. Lyrically, I'm not quite sure what the title of the song is supposed to mean. The way it's used, however, kind of makes me think of Goosebumps. This one's also very cryptic, at least to me. Honestly, this one may actually be another standout for me. No Hesitation is very similar in a way to Sorceress of Your Soul, with how fantasy and medieval it sounds with its overall grandiosity and epic sound. This track yet again has another very engaging melody, especially on the chorus, and LaFaye's vocals sound very intense and direct, like she's trying to give us an in-depth tale about the past. Lyrically, it's mainly about loving someone past the hesitation in her mind. This one's another standout. I really enjoy this track. And finally, the closer, Lookout Mountain, is just another standard song. No, seriously, this one doesn't have anything interesting to it. The melody is generic, although it does get up to a higher level at times, and the guitar is also not the most special thing out there. Lyrically, however, it does have a nice message to it, about sitting isolated on a mountain, dreaming of bigger things, and how no one else can stop her from accomplishing that. Nothing special again, not bad, but not great either. Overall, this album is purely acoustic, mainly led by a guitar and maybe some slight backing instrumentals occasionally, but not a single drum or any form of percussion is present on this album. And sure, while there are some exceptions to strictly acoustic, such as Sorceress of Your Soul, and No Hesitation to an extent, there's just not enough here to keep me engaged throughout an entire album. Sure, I can absolutely listen to these songs individually and love them, but the album as a whole and its flow is a bit sleepy. But I'd be lying if I didn't enjoy this album, so I'm feeling about a good 7.5 out of 10 on this album. Well guys, hope you enjoyed that review. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.